Hi, and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Carl Smith. I'm the business owner and coach at Concept Fitness Consultancy. And today's guest is Sarah Crosby. The intention of these podcasts was that they were going to last around 20 minutes. I know I've said this before, but I haven't had one yet that's lasted 20 minutes. So I'm not going to hold myself to that. It's just a title as it is right now. But look, I'm not going to sort of whittle on today either and take up any more of those sort of vital 20 minutes that we've got. But I'd like to pass you straight over today to Sarah. Sarah, look, before I do, I've known you for a long time. You've been a very busy personal trainer throughout that time. And we just had a quick chat offline, so to speak. And what's really impressed me this year is not only your positivity, not only how you've sort of navigated this interesting new landscape, but you've actually come out of this right now with your own gym that you opened up probably a few days ago rather than weeks ago right now. So I think it'd be really interesting to talk today about that journey and how that's all sort of come to fruition, so to speak. And yeah, look, let me stop whittering on. Sarah, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and I suppose why and how you started your PT journey.
So I actually started 9 years ago now in a commercial gym. It was really tough to start with, just getting clients, getting busy in the gym. And after a lot of years of building up a reputation through classes, through group PT, we got hit with COVID. And what I found is throughout lockdown, through the slide to personal training online, we soon found that people realized that they didn't really need the commercial gym in order to get a good result. They just needed like a community. And as long as they felt safe, they were happy to train whatever the circumstance. They weren't bothered about the type of kit, they weren't bothered about how fancy it was. They just wanted somewhere where they felt like they belonged. And we took the opportunity, especially with having some high risk clients, to just create an environment where people felt safe. And after speaking to a lot of clients, that was the number one priority. I just want to be able to go somewhere where I feel at home, I feel confident, and I feel safe. So, this time last year, if you'd have said, would I have a facility this year? I would have said, absolutely not. It was not even on the radar this time soon, but we saw an opportunity and we took it. And even though we've only opened a few days, it's already been a massive success, to be honest. So yeah, absolutely over the moon at the minute with that.
Brilliant. Well, look, I think we'll dig into a little bit of detail around that in a second or two. But so let's take it all the way back before to when you first started. Do you even remember who you did your course with?
Yeah, I was with a company called The Training Room.
Yeah.
That was way back then. It was actually with Kev, if you remember Kev.
Yes.
And another guy. So I did a course which was like a weekend-based course. So it was like online learning, 9 to 5, through the week. And then during the weekend, you would go in and you would have like 2 practical days in like your exams. And I think that took about 6 months to get through. And it was really intense because you're trying to like balance a full-time job with doing all this learning online, and then your whole weekend's also saturated with just exams and practicals and all that kind of stuff. But it was really good. I think since then these courses have advanced a lot, and we've got a lot more technology, and there's a lot more things that we can do in order to learn online with Zoom and things like that. Like, we didn't have that then. It was literally a textbook and you learn yourself. And if you're stuck, you drop them an email, and then you're waiting for ages for an email to come back. And because obviously they're dealing with so many people at once. So I think now it's got to be a lot better to become a PT than what it was back then. It must be.
You'd hope so. So you did your course. And at that point, did you have sort of any aspirations in terms of how you'd be trading? Were you doing it for your own sort of upskill, or did you want to get into the personal training world?
Do you know, thinking about it now, if I'm completely honest, I did not have a clue what I was letting myself in for. I honestly didn't. Like, I think a lot of trainers may be the same when they first go into it. They expect to maybe come out and just be employed in a gym, in a leisure centre, and just have people fall on the lap and giving people inductions and the kind of stuff that you would see in like a sports centre. And it just wasn't the case at all. I absolutely had no idea what I was letting myself in for. I had worked in call centres and banks, and I'd done all that kind of stuff for maybe 6 years prior. And I was always an active person. I used to own a martial arts school with my dad, but I was only a teenager. There was a time where I had to just go out and get a proper job. And I just knew that I wasn't destined to be sat in an office or on the phone or, you know, dealing with people's transactions and being shouted at. It just wasn't me. So I knew I needed to be out there working with people and getting the best out of people. And I thought the only way I can really do that is through personal training, is through the gyms. But in terms of the actual role and what you need to do as a self-employed personal trainer, I had no idea what I was letting myself in for at the beginning.
Well, interestingly, your background in call centres there was probably giving you a bit of a grounding that you maybe didn't appreciate when you first got started. That at least having those kind of soft skills, those customer service skills, gives you some of the sales background that you need to be a successful self-employed PT. But we don't all always sort of appreciate those skills when we get started. So basically, what you're saying is that when you started your PT career, there was a lot that you didn't expect.
Oh yeah, it wasn't until I'll never forget. I'd passed as a personal trainer, and it was one of these courses where they basically said, once you pass, you're guaranteed a job within this gym or this gym. So you think, oh, okay, I'm sweet. So then you pass, and it's like, right, you've got an interview at this job. And I went to this gym in Leeds, this really posh gym. And I sat down with this woman, and she got out a piece of paper and she wrote down, right, these are your two options for your two different gyms. This one's $550 a month, and this one's $600 a month. And I went, what? I was like, what? I had no idea until I was actually in the interview that I was going to be paying rent. I was that clueless.
I'm with you. I had the exact same experience. And I remember walking away from that first job interview and having to explain to my wife that I was going to have to pay to go to work. She just couldn't get her head around that. But that is how things work. So which one did you choose and why?
My choices were LA Fitness and DW. And I went to DW purely because it was closer to home. And I actually knew that gym. I'd been there a few times and I was quite familiar with it. So I went there and I started, best month you could possibly go. I started in January. And I went in, and it was something like you work 10 hours for the gym unpaid. And they might give you a class and they might pay you for it if 10 people turn up or more. So I think I spent 3 months there getting to know some of the other personal trainers. And there were a couple of PTs that were doing really well. They were consistently busy, making, good money. And the rest of them, some of them have been there 18 months and they were in debt. They just couldn't pay the rent. And I got to like month 3, and it was one of these where I can't remember the numbers, but your rent gradually increased until the 3rd month, and then you were on like full whack. And I remember I was just about to approach that month 3, and I thought, there's no way I can live like this. I can't survive. And there were some really, really good, really experienced PTs that just weren't picking up clients. I thought, well, if they're not, then what chance have I got? I'm brand new into this. And then I left and I came to Exercise for Less at Castleford.
Okay, well, but in fairness, although the scheme was slightly different, it gave you a bit of a longer sort of incubation period, if you like. The rent didn't cap out at 3 months, did it? What was the difference there then?
What, between DW and Exercise for Less?
Yeah, because you made it work. So
I thought the scheme at the time at Exercise for Less was brilliant because it allowed you to scale up in your own time. Yeah. So when I first started, I think it was something like you worked 15 hours unpaid just on the gym floor. You were given 3 classes and you paid 25 quid a week rent, I think. And then as you got busier, you could opt to up the rent and is it lower the classes and lower the hours as you up the rent?
Yeah, it wasn't that complicated. It was either 25 hours on the gym floor and £25, wasn't it? And then it went up to £50 and you dropped those hours down to 15, or you went up to 75 and you dropped it down
to 50, or
you swapped 5 hours for 1 class.
Yeah, I remember now. So I remember going in, and at that time, I know it was the same at DW. All the gyms were struggling because there was a lot of PTs that just weren't turning up. They weren't covering the classes, and there were members left on the gym floor without. And I had this one really awful experience where I'd just been qualified. I had nothing prepared for a spin class whatsoever. And a receptionist came over to me and said, the spin instructor's not turned up. You're going to need to teach. I'm like, you've got to be joking. I says, I've got nothing. I was in like baggy joggers and high top trainers. I was halfway through a meal. And she said, they're on the bike and ready to go. I was like, what do I do? So I had to get a CD. And I kind of walked in and I said, right, I'll give it a shot. Like, you know, I don't even know what's on this music. I don't even know what I'm about to play. And I'll never forget, this one particular woman just sort of eyeballed me up and down and grabbed a towel and a drink and just walked out. And my confidence just dropped. Like I thought, this is going to be horrendous. So I told myself after that session, this will never happen again. Like whatever happens, I'll be prepared. So I just started preparing classes for whatever event. I just started getting playlists together. I just started coming in my own time and just practicing routines and practicing, you know, say I get on a bike and try a song and I'll say like, right, I'll try a sprint to this. Does it work? And I'll try a hill climb to this. And I just kept trying and trying and trying and trying. And then whenever anyone didn't turn up for a class, I just jumped in. Like every single opportunity I jumped in, no matter how much I didn't want to do it, I just jumped in. And over time, I built confidence and people started getting to know that no matter what happened, I would cover. And then the class numbers started going up and there was more attendance. And I kept saying, give me feedback. I want feedback. I want to get better. And people, I'd say, if you hate something, tell me. I didn't like that. Right, I'll change it. And it took about 9 months of just covering whatever I could with whatever I could and just asking for constant feedback. And from that, I picked up so many personal training clients. I picked up so much rapport with the members, but a lot of trust as well, because they also knew that I was going to be there all of the time. And even if, you know, it might not be the best class in the world, I would still give them something. I would still be prepared with something. And with that time came confidence. And then in 9 months, I had every single class across a few different gyms completely full, waiting lists every time. And it built like an incredible following. This is what, 2012? And some of those people still come to all of my classes now. So it stuck and it's worked out brilliantly. And I think no matter how much a personal trainer might think a certain class or discipline is beneath them, they need to just get in there and show that, look, I will look after you regardless of what happens in this gym. I will make sure that you're taken care of. And people notice that. They don't care about it being perfect. They care that they're being looked after, and that's all that matters.
You know what? That's a really interesting story. It's a really shit way to learn. You were thrown.
It was. I know.
I know. But I suppose what I'm saying is that you have a choice, and what happened to you with that woman walking away, walking out of your class, might have broken many trainers. That might have been their last day as a personal trainer. You took that the complete other way and made sure that next time you were going to come back prepared, and you prepared to death, so to speak, so that you were never going to fall into that trap again. But you almost, by the sounds of it, got addicted to that buzz, and that's how you grew. But also, without even knowing it, that's how you build a community. It's asking for feedback. It's asking for people to engage in your content, so to speak. So what you were unbeknownst, or maybe doing is, or unbeknownst to yourself doing, was creating that community by having conversations with people that made them feel part of something. So, you know, asking them to, what music would you like, or what would you like me to do in a class, or what worked and what didn't work is exactly what great personal trainers do. So again, you know, not the best way to learn, but but you did it.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, well, exactly. So look, based on that particular story, what would your best advice be to a brand new trainer getting into the industry now?
I would honestly say, don't try and think that you're going to have everything figured out straight away. Because I think a lot of PTs, you know, they might be able to lift a lot and they might look great, but if they come in with the expectation that they're just going to have all like a full diary straight away, they're going to be making mint money straight away, they're going to have it all figured out, then it might be a tough ride. I think what we've got to do as trainers is we've got to stop working from the ego a little bit, and we've got to accept that we have got things that we need to learn about people and about ourselves in the gym. And I think we need to just do the work. We need to put the hours in. One thing I've always said to new trainers in the gym is, don't always come in at your favorite time. Like if you always train at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you need to make sure that at some point in the day you were here at 6 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 11 in the morning, last thing at night. Because I think if I've seen some trainers come into a gym, they've only ever come in at the same time and said there's no clients here. It's like, well, you only ever see the same group of people because people are habitual, so they always come in at the same time. And if you always come at the same time and they always come at the same time, you're only going to see 70 people, the same 70 people every day. But if you make sure you're coming in every single day of the week and you're staggering those times all of the time, people are going to start to notice there's a new face on the gym floor. So don't ever think that anything you could do in that gym is beneath you, even if it's helping someone get through the gate because they're stuck, or holding the door for them, or just helping them do something really basic. Don't put it beneath you. Even if it's cleaning up a drink because someone spilled it, it is not beneath you because you are helping someone, and people notice that, and that opens doors all of the time. So I think less of the ego, if that's like playing into, if it's sort of in your head a little bit, and just remember that you're there to help people above all, regardless of whether it's helping them actually do a deadlift or whether it's just helping them do something really basic, like find a key for a padlock. It doesn't matter, you know.
Good point. So what about you? Maybe you've answered this already to some degree, but what do you find was the best way to pick up clients, or the best lead generation activity?
One thing that really worked for me was free workshops. So what we had at Exercise for Less was the Hub, which was a great tool at the time. And what I would do, I mean, there's ways to do it on the gym floor if not, but what I would do is I would create a free workshop, which would be like 3 to 4 hours long. It would always usually be on like a Saturday mid-morning. And I would always like bring drinks or coffee or something like that. And I would plan 3 to 4 hours for them to learn a little bit about nutrition, but there would always be a theme. And that theme would be something like women versus weights, or boxing, or, you know, just something specific, because my end goal out of that would be to get a group of 4 to 6 people out of it to train together in that discipline. So I did one which was women versus weights, and I must have had 30 people turn up to it. It was free. I built an interest list. If you're interested, write your name on this sheet. So we all came. It was basic, how to do a squat, how to do a deadlift, you know, how to do compounds. It was really basic stuff, how to calculate your calories, macros, like, and then I did like a little hot seat. So I let everyone just talk to each other, and I'll call everyone out one by one and be like, one fire question, give it to me, go. And then I would answer everyone's one question. And then at the end, if they were interested, I would put them on another interest list, which would filter them into a free Facebook group where I would give them recipes. I would give them like a workout of the week, mini challenges. And then after I've gotten to know them a little bit more, I would present them with the opportunity to continue that on a group basis. And because it's a group basis, it's affordable, and they can train 2 to 3 times a week with me in that discipline. And it never didn't work. It worked every single time, because they're getting so much value before they actually are asked for a sale.
Yeah.
That they're thinking, if I'm getting all of this for free, then if I start paying this person, then what am I going to get? And it's just making sure that you are delivering that value at every single stage of the ladder.
Yeah, no, you're right. Why Saturday? Because I think you're right. Saturday is the best day to do it. But why did that work for you?
Because 9 times out of 10, I had a chance to use the studio, and I wasn't going to be fighting other people for it. Because most people in the gym had been in, they'd done their bit, the classes had finished for that day, and they would be gone. So it would encourage more people to come in when they know they're not going to be getting watched and it's more private. And it just seemed easier. It just seemed like the gym was quieter, and it seemed a little bit more personalized. There's been times before where I've tried something like on an evening, and I've been doing like a group in the studio, and I've actually like hired the studio for that time, but you've constantly got people coming in and out. And there's been the odd times where I've done like a meditation session, and then you've got someone coming in and they start picking a Reebok step up and the feet are falling off, and it's just mass destruction. And it just always seemed to work quite well. Plus, I always knew it was going to run over. I always knew it was going to run over. And I knew people were going to want to talk afterwards, and they were going to hang behind, and they were going to want to talk personally. And there was a chance to get more sales out of the back of that. So I wanted to make sure that when I had that studio, I wasn't going to be like on the brink of getting a sale and thinking, oh God, Zumba's going to be in a minute, I need to get out, because it kind of, it ruins it, doesn't it? So it just made sure that I had all the time in the world to get to know these people, and they had all the time in the world to ask me whatever they wanted to.
I think that's the key to it all. There is that on a weekend specifically, that people's mentality changes. They feel like they've got more time, so they're not in a rush necessarily to get on to the next thing. So, and when you're doing a session like that, that's the last thing you want, is to be thinking about the next thing, because you want to focus on them and make them feel special, give them an experience, etc. So good advice. Sam. What about any have you used any tech? You mentioned, I know that the hub that we used to have, which was a members social media forum, but have you used, are there any other bits of tech that either you believe in now, or you're going to take into your new studio, or that you've had experience with, that you think that's worth recommending or not?
Do you know, I've used quite a lot of things. I used to do a lot of online modules and all that kind of stuff, and I found 9 times out of 10 people weren't using them. So I stopped getting as techie and more just sort of keeping people accountable. What I found has really worked though, it's so basic. There's an app called Quick. It's spelled Quik. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's just a video editing app, and it's the easiest app.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing in the world. I can literally film a workout, and I can make as many mistakes as I want, and in no time at all, I can cut it all to pieces. I can put licensed music over the top of it, so I know I'm not going to get in trouble for the music. I can make it look good, I can filter it, I can do whatever I want with it, and I can literally have a workout filmed, edited, and sent to my clients within a couple of hours. And it just saves so much time, rather than trying to get something that's overly advanced and trying to figure it all out. So that's a massive one. Huge one.
It's got some cool little templates. I remember I stumbled across it about a year ago, and my son was doing what looked like breakdancing on the street. So with that little app, it made it look like he was. He was only 1, so he definitely wasn't. But yeah, no, I remember the app. I haven't used it since, but it was really quick and maybe hence the name, and easy to pick up. So, but nothing else. No other technology.
I mean, in terms of technology itself, there's one thing that we've just bought for the gym that we've not actually tried yet, and I don't even know what it's called, but we've managed to buy this camera that follows you around the room. So it's got like a spinning head on it that kind of follows you around the room while you're training. But the thing is, we can't use it yet because we can't do classes. So that's something we're wanting to use when we start introducing HIIT step into the gym, where we're all going to be sort of all over the place. So I imagine that's going to be good, but we've not managed to get around to that one yet. The only other thing that I use quite a lot is Facebook for accountability. We use a lot of groups. So I have a free group for people that are interested in potentially joining our gym, and we give them snippets of content on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And then for anyone that does join, they get them filtered into a paid group where they get all of our content on a drip fed basis, and everything's accessible. And what's really good about that is the fact that if I'm doing something like this, or I'm teaching, or I'm just unavailable for whatever reason, then they've got a point to communicate with each other, ask questions, and either my business partner can pick it up or someone else who's a member of the gym. But it's also a place where they can share recipes and workout ideas, and it just helps people stay accountable and build that community. Like, obviously we can't do classes at the minute, but I've got the odd person in that group saying, I'm thinking of going in and just getting on a spin bike at 6 o'clock tonight. And someone else might say, right, well, I might come in and just get on a spin bike at the same time. So even though we can't arrange a class, it's just giving them a reason to stay accountable to each other. So, and it costs nothing, it costs absolutely nothing. The only other thing that I've used, which I found really good, was ClickFunnels. I used that a while ago. I stopped using it when I changed my business because it was for my previous company, but I created a membership site on there. So it allowed me to just create any module on Vimeo or YouTube, and then just paste the link into my own customized page, and I could integrate that into a website. So people had their own little login and password, and then they could log in and watch a nutrition video or download a workout or download a recipe, and it was just one place for everyone to get everything. I think that cost me about £70 a month, something like that. Okay. But for the money, it was worth using, because it saved me having to constantly resend things out to all these people all of the time, especially as you start getting to capacity. You just can't keep on top of it.
Yeah, I think what is interesting, if you're a brand new PT, you might not want to spend any money on tech when you get started until you get some income, and then technology really should be about solving a problem that you currently face. And if that problem is that your admin's a nightmare to you, then you look at technology. It's going to solve your admin issues. If it's if it's leads, then look at some kind of lead generation tool. But interestingly, you didn't mention Vimeo, or you just did actually at the end of the conversation. I remember at the beginning of lockdown that you did some online content of your own, and I'm sure you used Vimeo, didn't you? To sort of, is that how you retained some of your clients throughout the?
I am still using Vimeo on a weekly basis. I think in lockdown 1, I filmed 40 workouts. Wow. So I filmed the workout, I edited it in Quick, and then from Quick, I uploaded it to Vimeo. Now, Vimeo is similar to things like Zoom. You can only use so much of it before you have to start paying. Yep. So the amount of content I was putting on, I had to pay, and that's £70 for the year, or thereabouts, to use Vimeo, which for me is more than worth it. I was sending out 3 Vimeos a week to paying clients, and I was sending 1 Vimeo a week to the members of the gym for free, and to everyone on Facebook, Instagram, and then they had the choice to upgrade to a paid, extra couple of sessions a week. Now, the Vimeos, believe it or not, I went into Exercise for Less only a few weeks ago, and someone had said that they're still doing the spins that I'd filmed every single morning. And I check the views every day, and some of the spin videos, like just the spin ones, people are buying bikes at home and spinning every morning from home. So it's like a free Peloton for them. Yeah.
Well, it's better than one of them is because they know you, and that's kind of one of the questions I was going to ask you is that when we come out of this, which might be, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not even going to guess, but whatever we do, is there going to still be an appetite for all the stuff that we've learned? And personally, I think there will be. I think myself personally, I don't need to go to a gym to do cardio, and I've got some equipment at home, and using some of the sort of virtual spins or some of the other toys that I've come across, that I'm stuck with that now, and I think there'll be a lot of people that think likewise. They'll need gyms for other things. I'm not saying that you don't need a gym. I think I certainly miss the gym, but if you're training 5 times a week, you maybe only need to train 3 times a week now, and you can do 2 workouts at home. So I think there's definitely still a place for all that. And it's interesting that you say that people are still using it now. I think test that in 6 months' time. It'd be really interesting to see what those results are. But look, talk to me about this year then, because this year has been an interesting one for many. So January came, the model had changed within Exercise for Less. I think, were you sort of on the edge of thinking about your own gym at that time, or was it sort of later on down the line?
So January, I had stopped as an employee of Exercise for Less and went back to being self-employed with Exercise for Less, which was, for me, was a no-brainer, because I had 52 clients on the books at that point. So it was a no-brainer. And it got to about February, and I actually went on, every time I have a group of clients that completes like a transformation, we'll go out for dinner and we'll have a bit of a night out. So going out with these 6 girls, and one of my clients actually approached me and said, I'd be really interested in actually investing in setting up a studio. But we'd had a few drinks, and we just took it as, we'd had a few drinks and that was it. Didn't really think anything of it. And then lockdown happened in March. And in the first lockdown, I actually had a further 2 investors approach me and say, I think we should set up on our own, because all these people were already involved in gyms, whether they worked at one or whether they were personal trainers. And I think the more we was dealing with lockdown, as an example, I had one client in particular that said, I'll probably never go to a commercial gym ever again after lockdown. You know, his brother was really sick. He was high risk. He just was worried about going into the gym and catching something, even though at this point we didn't realize that the gyms were such a low transmission rate anyway.
Yeah.
But it was just that wanting to be safe. So I started talking to more and more people. Was it the 25th of July when they opened gyms again?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. And they allowed small group training, but it wasn't allowed in gyms. It was only allowed like outdoor. So I had 5 people at a time literally coming to my drive outside my house. And I've built up a lot of kit here over the years anyway, just from home. And people were just enjoying it more, just like being in a little group. It was simple. It was battle ropes. It was plyo boxes. It was just really basic AMRAPs. And we were setting up AMRAPs because people were in their little station on their own, but still within a group.
Yeah.
And they were like, actually, I think we prefer this. I think it's doing more for us than. And the thing is, as well, with that particular gym, is that the fact that it was quite a small gym. When we came to doing the personal training in a group here, the feedback that I got was, we're not fighting over kit. Like, we're not coming in at 6 o'clock at night and thinking, are we going to be able to use this? Are we going to be able to use that? Or is someone going to try and take it while we're using it? Or, you know, the big thing that I spoke to you about in the past was
Boxing.
I was constantly fighting over the boxing ring. Like, so I knew that was never going to be an issue from home. And it just felt nice. It just felt really chilled, and it was controlled because everyone was cleaning and everyone was in that routine, and it just felt really controlled. So then that same client came back to me again and said, I think we need to take this into our own space. And that's what we did.
Okay, so talk to me about the steps then that you had to sort of go through, because it's not super difficult, but it's not super easy either. So
yeah,
once you decided that's what you were going to do, what was your next step?
We were deciding whether we were going to actually build a place or rent a place. And to be honest, at first we never even considered the option to rent. I had 2 investors that I were going to work with, 2 investors basically, and they were going to build a gym. And it was going to, I don't know if you've heard of them, they're called Rhino gyms, and they build like an eco-friendly studio. You design it with them, you purchase a plot of land, and they basically flat pack it, they bring it to you on the back of a truck, they build it, and they decorate it to your spec, they climate control it, they do everything to it. And we just wanted somewhere that was big enough to run groups, but also had a bit of outdoor space in case we had another situation where we could only train outside. And that was the original plan. Now, we actually contacted someone just by chance. We just found this guy on Facebook who was selling a plot of land that was a car forecourt. And I rung him and asked to come and see it. And he asked what it was for. And I told him, and he said, I don't think that's going to be right for you, but I've got something upcoming in a month, but I'm not selling it, I'm renting it. And I was like, that's not really what we wanted to do. But we went to go see it, and it was more perfect than we could have imagined. And what's really good about it is the fact that it's a big 1,400 square unit, but it's split into 2 studios, really, 2 separate sublets. And then there's another room at the back, which is literally just untouched at the minute. It's just completely industrial. So we figured, well, we've got space for a spin studio, we've got space for a normal studio. Then we just had these other 2 rooms, and I spoke to the landlord, and he says, look, as long as I get my rent, I don't care what you do. He says, you can do what you want to it, you can sublet to as many people as you want. And it was $550 a month, and I was paying $400 a month at Exercise for Less. So 2 personal trainers, we can sublet to 2 other people. It's cheaper rent. It's cheaper rent to do it on my own. And I know there's other expenses on top, but it allows us to do those other things. And the fact that we were renting, and we weren't going to purchase a massive piece of land, and we weren't going to be building this gym, allowed us to immediately put that money into spin, because that was always going to be my biggest following. Even though I've got like quite a lot of personal training clients, not one of them hasn't started from spin or eventually gone into spin and enjoyed it. So spin was always going to be the number one money maker. And so in renting, it actually said, well, it allows us to take that chunk of money and put it into what we really need to be selling, to be honest, which is getting bums on bikes. And that's what we decided to do.
And that what you've done with the Joker in the background looks amazing.
Yeah, there's a thing for that. So my sister actually painted that.
Wow.
Yeah, my sister painted that, and it's all glow in the dark and it's all UV. And the reason why we've done that is because it's to do with spinning. So that's going to be the spin studio eventually, and we sometimes play a card game on the bikes or with hit training. And whenever you get a joker in that game, it's basically like a forfeit. So it's kind of like an inside joke to the members that if you get a joker, you're in trouble. So when they walked in and they were like, "Oh God, there's a joker on the wall," they knew that. Yeah, yeah.
That's something really quirky. I bet. And your client, have they all seen it yet? Have you had any feedback on that?
Oh yeah. Like there were. Even in like just building the place and getting the place ready, I had a few clients that were like, "Can we come and paint? Can we?" Like they were all coming in and helping out and chipping in and helping us do little bits. And the first thing they were doing was running upstairs and wanting to see the Joker. It's just been something that they've all been looking forward to throughout the entire process. And we like asked for their input when we were actually putting it up as well. We said, you know, what would you want to see in a spin room? And they went, "Oh, if you have something to do with the cards or the Joker, that'd be great." And obviously, it was also like a massive film last year. And if you look closely at the actual picture, you can actually see that my sister's painted the Joker on a spin bike. So he's actually on a spin bike and he's holding up a card. And when people actually look close enough and see that, it's just great. She's done a great job.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. So how many bikes are you going to get into your spin space?
We've got them. So it's not. The actual spin room isn't a massive room, so we've got 11 bikes total. That's one for the instructor as well. So it'll be 10 per spin class. They're really good bikes, actually. Really good bikes. But we nearly had a bit of a drama because we were due to order them. And we actually went in. Was it the 1st of November? So it was the night after Boris had announced lockdown. Right. So we'd already reserved the bikes and we went in to make the payment, and the company that we were buying them from was basically saying they're going to have to sit in the warehouse until lockdown's over, because the problem that we would have had was that they could have delivered the bikes to the front door, but then they would have had to have left 700 kilos worth of spin bikes at the front door, and our studio's upstairs, and we couldn't hire anyone to help us carry them up because they weren't allowed into the gym. So we had to pay for these bikes and they had to sit in a warehouse in Glasgow for 4 weeks.
That yeah. Can you imagine what that felt like?
Well, that's the day that I've waited for years and years. And I went in, I was ready to pay for them, and he was like, "I'm so sorry," like, because the guy that sold us the bikes, he comes to my spin class as well. Like, he's come to my spin class in Batley for a long time, and he was actually like, "Oh, this is the best bike for you because you'll be able to," because he knew what I do in my class, he knew what would be the best bike. So we were both looking forward to that moment of actually like putting that sale down. And then we were like, "I'm so sorry that it just wasn't meant to happen like this." But eventually we got there, and it was interesting. I had a couple of clients that one's actually a PT, is a powerlifter, and his dad both came in and helped us carry these spin bikes upstairs, and they are 72 kilos a piece, and it's like stairs that kind of go like this as well. So that was an interesting morning, very interesting morning.
Where can people go online to find out about your gym?
Instagram's the best place at the minute. So it's House of Hit _, so house_of_hit. And that's the best place you'll be able to find everything that we're doing at the minute.
I'm going to try and have a look for it while I ask you some more questions, and if I can work out how to share my screen at the same time, I'll give people a bit of a
no problem.
A look, because I think it looks really cool. So in terms of advice that you might give to, again, somebody thinking about doing this, obviously timing aside, what would be the one thing that you maybe learned from this process?
Oh, I've learned a lot from this process. I've learned a lot. To be honest, the process itself wasn't as stressful as I thought it would be. Like, I'm not saying it's been easy, because it's not been easy, but I expected, especially, you know, we've taken on a unit in an old steel foundry. We expected it to be horrendous when we started stripping it apart, and it wasn't. We had some nasty surprises, don't get me wrong, but I would just make sure that if you're going into something like this, make sure you're going into it knowing fully exactly what your roles and responsibilities are throughout that process. And you need to be very clear about that and get everything in writing. And luckily, like, me and my business partner have highlighted right from the beginning, like, our strengths and weaknesses. She's training to be a PT. She's not a PT yet, but she's better at renovating, and she's better at working on the app. And so she's been working on figuring out the direct debits and doing all of the back end systems. Whereas my role and responsibility has been more about, like, sourcing the equipment and all that kind of stuff, and putting together a timetable. And I think it's just really important that right from the get-go, you're very clear about that, because it could end up causing problems later on if you maybe stepping on each other's toes.
Good advice. Can you see what I've managed to find on the screen?
Yeah, got you.
There
you go. There you go. That was the little joker there. So someone had a session there. So yeah, if you can see.
Where am I looking?
Where is it?
This
Right,
one?
that one. So if you look in the middle there, you can't see because it's in the dark at the minute, but that joker in the middle is actually sat on a spin bike and he's holding up a card.
Yeah, because it actually zoomed in, Ali.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah,
it looks really, really smart.
Yeah.
Obviously, it must be it's still sort of a bit gutting, I suppose, that you still can't use the space for at this stage. But I mean, fingers crossed that comes soon. So, have you got a kind of a launch plan that you've sort of been putting together? Is it just kind of as soon as Boris gives you the nod, where your first class goes ahead, or has it given you some time, I suppose, to sort of plan a really big launch?
It's kind of, I think personally, I don't know whether it's just me being optimistic, but I think it's kind of worked in our favour again, because if we'd have not gone into tier 3, then what we would have had to have done is do a launch, but only have 5 people in at a time for this launch, and do a launch by appointment. So we didn't really want to do that. So what we thought was, if we soft launch during tier 3, because our gym is going to be packages only. So very lowest packages, classes only. And then it goes to classes plus a large boot camp for once a week. Next package is classes plus small group PT. And then the highest package is unlimited access to everything. And that's the high ticket price. Now, what we sort of figured is there's only certain ones that we could run in other tiers because of limitations on numbers in small groups. So we've scrapped all of that temporarily, and we've just opened as an open gym as a soft launch. So I've said to all of these people, right, we can't run packages just yet, but for the price of the lowest membership, you can just come in and use the gym. And what we'll do is, without running any classes, we'll create a class experience on a one-on-one basis. So we've just got spin bikes in the room. I've just got like interval training to music looping in that room. I've got the disco lights on, and people can just come in and get on a bike and just do what the tape says, or I'll write on the right whiteboard what to do to what exercise. And it's worked out. And someone actually gave us some feedback the other day, and they said they were really, really anxious about coming down because they've gone from like a commercial studio where they've had structure and routine, they've known what's going to happen, and they know the bikes and everything. They've come to this seedy little industrial unit and gone up these stairs, and they've not known what to expect and what the bikes are going to be like and what the studio is going to be like. And they said, you know, they came in and they just smelt like fresh carpet. It was all clean. The bikes are untouched. The music was banging, and the lighting was great, and they knew what to do the entire time, but without doing a class. And she said you've done an amazing job, because I feel like I've done a class, but I've not done a class. And I just like let them in there, and I leave them to it. I keep sticking my head in to see if they're all right, and they're just doing it. They're just doing it all on their own. And I know that the majority of my clientele buzz from being pushed in a class and being motivated. So it's hard for me to kind of stand at the back and not be able to do that for them, because I've got my own opinions on open gym versus a class experience in terms of COVID and which is safer and which is more controlled.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can't change it. So all I can do is make the most of the situation that I've got and just make sure that the members are being pushed. Even if I can't stand at the front and scream at them, you know, they can still be pushed and they can still come out thinking I've got the most out of that session. So if we can provide that on an open gym basis, we'll do that until we can release the packages. If we do go out of, because we're getting a review in a couple of days, aren't we, from the government?
Yeah, you're right.
2 more days. So if we get a tier 2 and we can run like classes of 5 or whatever, then we might start to launch some of the packages. But it's not until we can do that we can do like a proper launch and actually invite everyone down. But the positive about this is we're in Nottingham, so we're slightly out of the area that I've been in previous. So we've got quite a lot of new faces coming through the door. They don't know us. They don't know who we are. They've not done our classes, but this way they get to know us in the gym before it opens. So they're actually building a relationship before the launch, and they're getting to know us online as well. So I think it's working in our favor because we're gradually getting people on the ladder before we open the doors and ask for that high ticket payment. And for me, I think that's only a good thing, to be honest.
No, I 100% agree with you. So brilliant. Yeah. Well, I'm really conscious of time, and I want to thank you first off for well, I sent you a bunch of questions and I've not asked you any of them. Just had a conversation, but I thank you for that. Final question for me, if it's okay, is what would be the best bit of advice that you'd give to trainers right now?
Get comfortable in front of camera quickly, because it feels awkward. I understand that at first, but you just got to make yourself uncomfortable. We push ourselves, or we push our clients to be uncomfortable all of the time by asking them to do things in the gym that they wouldn't ever do before. And we need to start doing that to ourselves and make ourselves uncomfortable, because that's only when you can start to grow. And we can't ask other people to grow if we're not willing to push ourselves out of our comfort zone and grow ourselves. And if you're not currently doing anything online, do something, even if it's a 7-day free virtual program, or, you know, if it's just touching base with people once a week in a Facebook group, or, you know, just do something, because the industry's changing. And I think it was always going to go this way. I think the death of the one-to-one pay-per-hour personal trainer was always coming. I just think that this pandemic has pushed that process along rapidly. And I think we need to get on board and not dig our heels in, and not focus on fighting the government, and not focus on, you know, breaking the rules and bending the rules and doing what we want anyway. We need to learn to adapt, because as this pandemic is doing what it's doing, if we're not adapting with it, we're just going to get left behind. So just take a step back, listen to your clients, ask your clients what they want. And what I found is that people don't really care if your videos aren't perfect, as long as there's some level of professionalism going on, as long as there is some kind of planning and structure. They don't care if your dog runs in the room while you're doing a workout. They don't really care about, you know, you're making a slight mistake or tripping up on a word or something. They care that you're pushing them, you're being consistent, and you're staying in touch. And if you can do that, you'll just get better naturally as you go. So stick with it and just get online, and get online quick.
So great words, and really useful. So thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
I'm definitely going to get you back on in a couple of weeks if you're up for it. How are you getting on? But thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome. You're very, very welcome.